Are you falling into that anger trap? Do you want to avoid those feelings? Sure, like most of us, you probably would. I'll show you, as we go through this video, 5 ways in how we can combat that. But first, as always with my videos, I start with a little haiku, and then we dig deeper and see what it's really all about, what we can do about it. So, sometimes it helps to close your eyes as we go through these videos. Just allow the words to permeate through you. Or you can have your eyes open, of course, but I found if you close your eyes, it really does kind of get you into that nice receptive state. But here goes nothing. Anger may well arise to provoke you to respond. Stop, breathe, think again. So, yeah, anger. Oh boy, that is one emotion that's, I don't know about you, but you've found the last few years that has been on the rise big time. There's things going on all around us that are literally pressing our buttons from everywhere, from social media, so in the news, even people around you, because you gotta remember it's like a fountain, isn't it? It like trickles down through all the different layers of our society, and right at the bottom of it all, there's little old us picking up on all this energy. And if you're like, so I know some of these people who are on this channel are very much thinking in that spiritual vein. It can be really draining. It can certainly kind of like put this pressure on you, and you find yourself reacting, you know, reacting in ways that you think, like, why am I doing that? And believe you me, I've seen um, on social media many spiritual people, I use that word sparingly sometimes, getting angry, table thumping. It's almost like some mad politician banging on the table in social media saying, this is wrong, that's wrong. And I'm like, whoa, where is this all coming from? What's happening here? Who is pressing your buttons? And there is certainly something to be said on that score. So let's think again. Anger may well arise. So it's rising. It is rising around you, amongst you, within you. It kind of like comes, like anger. It's almost like that kind of like fear, isn't it? It's like driving you on. I've got to react. Now, some people will say, you should never get angry, Gary. Never get angry. You should always be in this perfect Zen state. You know what I say to that? Oh, cobblers, basically. And you're all gone, oh my God, he's just kind of like almost cursed there. Let me tell you why. Because anger is a primal reaction. It keeps us alive sometimes. So if we go way back in antiquity, well, we go right back into our when we was just literally humans first coming onto the earth, and there be a great big hungry predator around you. You have no choice but to fight. Now you can't go up to that predator and say, "I say, Mr. Lion, would you be so kind as to allow me to have the egress to the field so I can go and mellow myself on some fruit and nuts?" No, not going to happen, is it? You are going to be prey unless you do something about it. So sometimes anger is needed to get those out, agitate our kind of like self-awareness, our instincts to survive. So it's not a case of we don't get angry, but it's all in context, isn't it? Um, I used to know someone who we would work with him, and he would flare up at the most ridiculous things. You know, there's more on my order than that person's got, and you think like, is that really worth busting a blood vessel over and potentially making your blood pressure rise and kind of like putting yourself in danger? Because let's not kid ourselves. Too much anger is not good for the old soul, is it? Certainly not good for the body. Um, so it pays for us to keep tabs on it. And there's also, when you have your outburst of anger, sort of like allow it to permeate, let it do what it needs to do, but always come back to yourself. Always restore yourself because it's like any other energy. If you start getting angry all the time, The universe is going to say, like, Gary loves a bit of anger, don't he? Well, that's obviously done what he wants. Let's give him more things to get angry about. And I start rip-roaring about the place, ranting and raving and going red in the face and steam coming out my ears. Don't want that, do we? But if you think, like I say, I'm here, I never get angry. Of course I do. Someone pulls out of me at a junction when I'm driving. I'm going to say, well, flipping hell are you playing at? Maybe stronger words, a little bit stronger than that, because it is, there's an element of justification there. I'm being put at risk, and anger is like a survival mechanism, isn't it? And so these kind of things do arise. And there's also the element of disappointment. So, for example, you might arrange to go out somewhere and 10 of you are going to go out and only 3 of you turn up. And you get angry about those who ain't turned up. So, what's that flipping down? They're bloody lazy gits. They're just laying indoors flipping watching telly or something rather than come out with us lot. So that's a different kind of anger. Again, that's one where I would stray. Do we really want to be going down that road? As opposed to the kind of like slight disappointment and think, oh, it's a shame they couldn't come, but their loss. That's a different energy, isn't it? So just beware of that anger and where's it coming from? And that's what we do. We look where it comes from. If it is something that you are endangered, then there is, some kind of justification in that. And if you're keeping yourself alive, that's fair enough. But if it's, trivial, and like I say, looking at more of that disappointing energy, that's not going to anger because that does not serve you well at all. But also, let's not forget social media. Oh my God. There is so much programming going on right now. So many people trying to get that element of what I call division and separation, and very much kind of like almost on that nationalistic side of things. And this has been done before, before the age of social media. Let's go back and let's go a bit controversial. Let's go back to Germany in the 1920s. Germany used to be, back then, before the First World War, was a superpower. It was a giant, blooming mechanical machine, imperialistic, basically hell-bent on conquering the world. And then they had the Treaty of Versailles. Everything went really bad for the Germans. They was poor, they was driven to poverty. And along came a very charismatic leader. Um, he whipped up a frenzy and saying like, us Germans should be proud. We shouldn't have to bow cap in hand to these so-called imperialists telling us what to do. We're strong enough to take this on and do it ourselves. And from that ideology came the birth of the Nazi Party. And they was very much stirred up anger, hatred, and that's the worrying thing. Anger's only one step away from hatred. So we've got to be really careful of our thoughts here. Really must watch that and kind of like curtail that. Because we all know how that turned out. Or if you didn't, go look at your history books because that was not good. And this is how people can certainly use tools like social. It's so easy to program someone there. And you can put rubbish out, you can put fake stuff out there, and people buy it. You could sort of like put some kind of someone from another country coming over here. You say, "Oh, they're having a good time out, just having a party or something," and suddenly you see all this sort of like, "Look, they're coming over here at our expense," blah blah blah, and it could be quite justified. But it's so easy, isn't it, to be programmed? So I would say to all of you, you find yourself being triggered by certain things on social media. Where's it coming from? Who's doing this? What is their end game here? It's time for us to start. People talk about waking up. This is waking up to see who's truly behind and playing the tune that you're dancing along to. Because let's be honest, the only tune they're interested in is their own. And you're just a puppet in that scheme. So be aware of that. And that goes from all sides. I'm not going to say, oh, this side's better than that side and start going into politics. I'm saying to you, look as a whole and see what's going on. And then that would kind of give you that awareness, perhaps, to not fall into their traps because they are very, very clever at it and they are spending a hell of a lot of money on it to get you to fall for that stuff. And they are intelligent, not stupid at all. So don't be down on yourself if you are falling for that trap. because they know what they're doing. Okay, the second line is to provoke you to respond. So let's imagine, say someone gives you cause for some kind of animus, rise up those spirits within you, and you find yourself, I'm really going to flip in, say something here. Now, obviously, the most extreme response is to resort to violence. You know, if this is where we get road rage. So someone cuts me up at the lights or whatever, or we drive along to the next time they stop. I jump out the car and say, oh, "What's your bleep 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 problem?" and end up sort of like attacking that person. Not very clever, is it? Because who knows who I'm attacking? They could be a living heavyweight boxer for all I know. Secondly, it's assault. Thirdly, I could cause some serious injury to that person or myself and probably end up going to prison. Obviously, that's an extreme reaction. And unfortunately, you do see it, don't you? You do see people ranting and raving, like, you see the whites of their eyes popping out and their teeth like coming up to this ghastly snarl, glaring at you with all this hate, and you think, Jesus, pal, is it worth it? And you're kind of glad when they steam off in another direction. It's happened to me a couple of times, and I'm thinking, like, I've done nothing wrong here. But that is people, isn't it? Or yeah, so I think road rage is a real prime example, but it could be anywhere, couldn't it? Taking a pub. Who are you looking at, mate? Who you look? You're looking for something, mate. You're after a row. You know, anyone who's in London's probably come across that scenario at some point, and you're thinking like, I just come here for a quiet drink, pal. Well, why are you in my face? It's like it's obviously sometimes it's tribal, isn't it? It's that kind of like boundaries, like alpha males stepping up and alpha females. Let's be honest here, because ladies can be just as um, violent as men when they want to be, and so we're not going into sexism here because we've all got that anger traits, and so that's the extreme anger, and we definitely don't want to be going down that road. As I was saying earlier, sort of like anger when someone lets you down when you go in somewhere. I know I've covered that earlier. That again is a little bit less on the scale. And something again, we could probably avoid that scenario. We don't need to be going down that road. And think to yourself where those anger times have come for you. Ever think in your life when was the last time you got angry? It could be you was watching something on the news and you think, oh God, that's terrible what's happening over there. And man, what's that? They should blooming like, bomb those blooming beep 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 beep. You see that kind of response as well. And this is another way anger can come into our lives. So you could come up really nice, happy in the morning, have a great day, and you see something like that and you find your mood drops. And again, that kind of like self-serves some individuals or organizations, doesn't it? So anger is certainly something to be aware of. And remember, politicians will stir up anger to make sure that you might vote for them next time. So to think about there, isn't it? So just have a think about those scales of anger and where it's justified and where it isn't. And try not to get too mad in the face. And this is the thing, when I was talking about that angry person at the start there, I said, who are you looking at, mate? Scary ones, the real scary ones, are the ones where he gets all in his face and the guy just stands there quite calm. Don't know what his problem is, pal. Because suddenly that angry one suddenly realizes he might have bitten off a bit more than he can chew there. Because this person they're arguing is calm in the face of adversity. And it's probably some trained sort of like a martial artist or something. It's just thinking, come on in, you really want to go there? So that's another reason that too much anger can backfire on you. Always remember, I think it was Evander Holyfield, probably on YouTube somewhere, where he was doing a road rage video and this guy came out steaming at him at the thing, and then Evander got out. And then you could see the guy just went, oh. So that's another thing to be thinking about. Watch the rage factors, guys, and girls, of course. And then we come to the last line. Stop, breathe, think again. And I think that's really what we're going on to. So we're going to start getting into what strategies we can use to combat that rise in anger. Before I go on, because if you've come this far, you're obviously finding this interesting. It appeals to you, and as an expression of gratitude to you, if you comment word in beneath, um, I will then get in contact with you so I could send you just a little bit, little kind of like nice little booklet, not too fancy, about sort of like extrapolating on some of the themes that I've been discussing. Um, your chance, it's a free gift from me to you, and just allow those words to sort of like work with you. And because it clearly, if you got this far, this is resonating with you, a chance for you to kind of see some of my stuff. My aim is to get loads of these little things together, maybe in like this fancy little book where we can just build our own thoughts, words, and knowledge. I just add to the pie. So if you want to do that, when you're ready, you can do it now, or if, obviously if you've got your eyes closed, like I advised you at the start, wait till the end of the video and just put word, W-O-R-D, just in case you misheard me, and I will gladly send you a nice little PDF file with a few words of wisdom or entertainment if you prefer. But now we're going to get to stop, pause. Oh, look at that. I can't have to read my own words here. Stop, breathe, think again. Stop. Let's not go down that road of chaos. Breathe. Breathe calms us down. Think again. Think again just makes us realize, do I really need to be in this energy? So let's go. Firstly, one of these 5 strategies, catch yourself. It is catching yourself. So when you kind of like going down that road and thinking, I'm just about to let rip, just how, almost like imagine this hand on your shoulder, it's your hand and just catching you before you rant. Just saying to yourself like, Gary, hold on a minute. This getting angry about something, showing displeasure, we're going to come through that scales of anger. Is it justified? I can guarantee you 9 times out of 10 it won't be. Most of the time it won't be justified, the angry response. So let's moderate our response, yeah? Let's just think to ourselves like, start using our brains rather than our rage. Rather the rage kind of erupts from here. For once, I'm going to tell yourself, just as you process what your response has been, we probably will need the brain here. Of course, talking to the heart, but the brain here will kind of like think, let me think of a way to diffuse the energy and bring it down. Because if you bring down the energy, it helps. Because humans always like to be right, don't we? We hate being admitting we're wrong. Oh dear. Um, because we always feel that we want that justification. I know what I'm talking about. Arguments. It's another place we can get angry, can't we? So let's moderate that into a calm, sensible response. Breathe. Breathe. When you get angry, you go, you suddenly, it's one of those little Jack Russells or those little dogs, isn't they? Little dog syndrome. We can do that ourselves. We start with it rising up, boom, boom, boom. Our breath becomes faster, our heartbeats become faster. We want to kind of like, we feel so aggravated, so provoked that we kind of do this. So instead of that, remember that calm guy in the pub who had that guy in his face? He's just breathing. He says, take those breaths because as we breathe, straight away we're getting to that stream of calmness, that serenity, and clear thought, clarity. We want clarity before we respond, before we do something, as we analyze, process, get into the way that's kind of like the best way forward. And most of the time, it'll be a few kind words to completely just diffuse the whole situation, and it's gone, isn't it? So drop into that space of clarity, and that will come with your breath. Calm everything down. Your blood pressure will go down. That redness that might be starting to come, with a bit of luck, will just start to come down and get there. Agree with me? Admit it's not easy, especially when you're put on the spot. It's trying to think, oh, when am I supposed to breathe? But I've got this guy in my face. Just almost step yourself back energetically and just breathe. You'll be surprised how you can do that. And then, of course, the old favourite, drop into your heart space. So, if, for example, you put in that scenario, someone said something you don't agree with, and you find that energy, drop into your heart space and maybe ask that question, do they have a point? How should I respond to that? That I'm very surprised if that says to you, go and punch them on the nose. I will be astonished. Most of the time, it will say, Gary, come on, it's not worth your energy, is it? It's not worth getting angry about. Just smile and say, okay, whatever, and go from there. And it's not being a doormat here, by the way. If there was something wrong you that didn't agree with you, you'd find a response, but it wouldn't be the angry response. It'd be the sensible approach, the one that comes from love and sort of like, and compassion. We can't come from there, and with a bit of luck, that can bring the energy down. Obviously, it depends on the other person coming at you, because if they're full of anger, um, it's difficult to bring that down. But having said that, if you are sending the loving energy out to them, the calm energy, there's a chance their anger they might suddenly think, well, actually, maybe I am overreacting a little bit here. Bring everything down. That's really, if we do that, we're going to come to what's right for us, for sure. Fourth strategy, just ask yourself, does it serve me? If I get angry, if I start ranting and raving at someone, what do I get out of that? Okay, I might win an argument. I might sort of like, feel better than that person. Ha, showed them, didn't I? It's like the old Lauren Hardy and the old one-upmanship. Hmm. You know, you get that sort of like moment of triumph for a few seconds, and then later you think like, why did I do that? What possible good has come from that scenario? So again, does it serve you? Does it serve you to kind of like be in that particular energy? Or would it be no much better to find that sort of like energy of compromise, of peace? Wish a few more of these world leaders would do that, eh? And our lives would be so much easier. And finally, here is the creme de la creme. Now, you've got to be careful because sometimes it depends on the scenario, it can backfire. But most of the time, just make yourself smile. Smile. As soon as you smile, the energy drops, doesn't it? The rage drops, especially if you're amongst your normal friends and stuff. You just laugh at it's all right. It's not. Just sort of say, yeah, okay, I hear where you're coming from. It's like a kind of like taking the pressure out of the balloon, isn't it? Just everything calms down. There are exceptions. The only time I would say exception, again, if you got that man raging in your face and you smile at him and say, "Who are you grinning at?" So you've got to be a little bit sort of like find the right time to do that. But most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time, a simple smile will help diffuse any situations like that. So that's my thoughts on the rage game. How about yourselves? I'd love to hear your wisdom, and describe maybe a scenario below where you've come across those sort of like situations and how you dealt with it. Did you deal with it how you would like to, or maybe you didn't? Maybe you did rage. Maybe you did sort of like react and think like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. It's okay. These things happen. We learn. We move on. So don't beat yourself up about it because it's what we do in the present moment that counts. And the past is the past. We can't change that. We can certainly change what we do here and now and as we go on. That's my thoughts. Thank you so much if you've made it this far, and I wish you all a beautiful day ahead and a week ahead as well. Much love to you all. Spiritual Cockney signing out.